Hey guys, welcome back. I think it's safe to say that everybody likes Sidon. Maybe his sage power isn't that good, though better than most seem to realize. Maybe he even seems a bit goofy with his whole shining smile thing. There is something else about his character I think is pretty obvious, something that some people may not be comfortable with. I think if you take a serious look at him, it's an undeniable truth. Today, I'm delving into the topic of Sidon's attraction to Link and the unfortunate consequences of it. Kick back and relax while I walk you through it. Let's talk about Sidon's tragic love. Part 1. Sidon's Sexuality. Clearly, Sidon is not human, and Zora customs may differ from what we have here in the real world. As such, I ask you to put aside your bias considering our cultural and political views, and consider what I am presenting. From the moment that Sidon is encountered in Breath of the Wild, he expresses nothing but optimism and excitement when it comes to Link. Yes, Zora's domain is suffering a terrible event, and he is looking for a Hylian to help because they need to use lightning on Vah Ruta, something that the Zora are vulnerable to. If you look at his behavior though, could there be more to it? This of course was brought up a lot by the community. Many jokes were made about Sidon being attracted to Link, but it was always unspoken in the game with nothing to contradict or corroborate it. Some people might make the claim of queer baiting, and they would be right to do so. For those of you unaware, it is when writers of media go as far to write implications and scenarios that hint at same-sex characters being attracted to each other, but with no intentions of depicting it on any deeper level. As such, a case could absolutely be made that the writers of Breath of the Wild were queer-baiting with Sidon, all while hiding behind their typical player interpretation stance that they love to say in order to absolve themselves of deeper storytelling. Yes, I clearly know about Yona. Hold off on your comments. We will talk about her later. In the scope of Breath of the Wild, there is no indication that Sidon has an interest in anybody else, and his attention seems solely focused on Link. In Age of Calamity, which should be taken with a grain of salt given its continuity, he seems focused on his sister Mipha, and again, his infatuation with Link shows. As such, within the scope of those two games, we see a side of him that shows interest in Link. I would say that there is at least a good chance that Sidon could be interested in Link romantically. In short, it seems feasible that Sidon could be bisexual or even gay. I mentioned how we don't know much about Zora culture. Taking Breath of the Wild, Age of Calamity, and Tears of the Kingdom in a vacuum, we don't see many relationships, but we see enough to suggest that the usual heterosexual norms exist there. We see Zoras who are husband and wife. We see Mipha clearly loved Link so much that she was making a marriage proposal outfit for him. And let's not forget about the uncomfortable situation of Finley and Sasan. Where I am going with this is that we see no other instances of potential homosexual relationships within the Zoras of the game. And so, if Sidon is experiencing such feelings for Link, it is very possible that it would be looked down upon, or perhaps merely overlooked due to his royal status. As for Sidon's attraction to women, that gets a bit more interesting. Now we get to talk about Yona. Part 2. Yona's marriage. According to the data logs, Yona has known Sidon since they were children, and she also hasn't seen him since that time. Sidon expresses to her that he loves her with all his heart, and yet, according to her, he constantly talks about Link. They are indeed set to be married, and yet, doesn't it seem odd that Sidon would agree to marriage with a person he only barely knows from his childhood? Sidon goes on to talk about Yona in his Sidon tablets, which itself says something given that he views this information to be so important that it should be inscribed in stone. He explains that he sees Yona as an older sister, and recounts a story about how the two of them were caught downstream due to a storm. Eventually, they were rescued by Mipha. This very same tablet explains that Sidon was informed by his father that he was to wed Yona. While the exact time of this declaration is unclear, It seems likely to have happened within the past few years. There is a very good reason for that. But for the moment, let's focus on Yona. If you speak to Yona after saving Zora's domain, she will mention to Link that all Sidon speaks of is him. During the events of the regional phenomenon, she will also mention that Sidon hasn't talked to her much since she had arrived. He even chooses to stay atop Plymouth Mountain purifying the water from the sky, with only a handful of Zora guards, all while insisting that Yona stay in the domain and take care of the wounded. Later, we can see that she and the Zora that accompany her are able to purify the water as well. And so, it raises the question of why Sidon didn't bring her to the mountain to help. If we look at this situation honestly, we can see that Sidon has been ordered to marry a person who he doesn't necessarily love as a wife. In other words, he is being forced to marry a person he sees as a sister. As such, we can see plainly that this is an arranged marriage by his father in order to push him to becoming a king. Why would he order this? We see with other Zora that love can develop rather early in life. Could his father be tired of Sidon floundering around and not finding a mate? Or could it be that his father simply doesn't approve of the mate that Sidon wishes to court? I would personally like to think that perhaps King Dorephan saw that the one Sidon had eyes for was either unavailable due to the Princess of Hyrule, or perhaps disinterested in such an arrangement. That isn't to say our charming hero of the wild is against the idea. It's merely an observation that his bland personality shows a lack of commitment in general, even to the point that Zelda may be confused about his affections. Regardless of King Dorephan's motive, the arranged marriage to Yona forced a change in Sidon's life, and that could easily be the real reason why he seems so depressed in Tears of the Kingdom. Sure, Zora's domain is again in danger, arguably worse than it was in Breath of the Wild, but I can't shake the feeling that his depression runs deeper than the settlement being in danger. You can see it when he fakes his smile and greets Link atop the mountain. It's all for show because he knows what he wants, and that it is beyond his reach. I would like to make it clear I don't think that Yona is a bad person in this. In fact, I actually like her character. Well, maybe not that bright of a green color on her, but I like what she stands for. If my belief on this matter is correct though, I dislike the idea of a father saddling his son with a forced marriage to try and stamp out his desires for a man. Still, I should bring up that marriage within cultures at such a high level are not always about love, but about the foundations of the nation. It could also be that Yona's marriage is strictly political, and that there is an unspoken rule that royalty can maintain relationships with whoever they want. Sadly though, I fear such a topic is too mature for a Nintendo game. I hope that you are enjoying the episode. Especially with topics like this, I need your support. A like and subscribe are always appreciated, but spreading this video with other like-minded friends would really help. Please help this video gain traction by doing so. Alright, enough of the YouTube stuff, back to the topic. Part 3. Symbols of Love. Throughout the Sidon tablets, he goes out of his way to mention Link by name multiple times. Each time he does so, he recounts how stoic and short of words he is, but always with admiration for his deeds and actions. It is clear that there is a high level of respect for Link, but the symbol that shines most clear of Sidon's desires is none other than the statue erected in Zora's domain by him, depicting the Battle of Vah-Ruta. The statue depicts Link riding Sidon, as they did in the reservoir dodging ice crystals. Also, Link could take the shots needed to disable the divine beast. It's obvious why Sidon is so impressed with Link, but to make such an elaborate statue to keep in the center of Zora's domain, in the very spot his own sister statue once stood, well, doesn't that seem a bit odd? The situation gets a little more interesting when we read over the tablets detailing the creation of Mipha's park. Again, Link is mentioned here as the Hylian who went to the mountain and slayed the Lynel who would shoot countless shock arrows at anybody who approached. This is yet another deed of admiration he recorded of Link, but more important was the decision to clean up the area and turn it into a park. Ultimately, he suggested naming it after his sister Mipha, and the idea was well received by the people, again showing their love for her. With that decision, he chose to move her statue to the top of the mountain. I ask, could there have been an ulterior motive? Mipha loved Link, so much so that she created the Zora armor by hand for him to fit him perfectly. Sidon knew this, and so every time he saw that statue of her, perhaps this fact came to mind, that he was chasing the man his sister once sought. Perhaps the idea of Link being with another was disheartening to him. I think he may have wanted her statue moved to distance those thoughts from him, and instead created a new statue to show him exactly what he wanted, what he yearned for. Perhaps this is the action that caused Dorfin to reach out and call Yona to the domain, to arrange the marriage between her and his son. It was likely after Zelda came with Link and apologized to him for the loss of Mipha over a century earlier. I like to think that Dorfin was a wise king, and that Link's eyes were only for Zelda, if for any at all. Summoning Yona for marriage may have been a mercy in his eyes for his son, given that the only one he truly wanted was simply unavailable. There is one more symbol of love that we must speak of, one that shows Sidon's complete devotion: Sidon's sage's vow to Link. Part 4. Sidon's Vow. As Link and his companions overcome the obstacles of each regional phenomenon, and each of the secret stones bonds with the new sage, his companions interact with him to pass on some of their power. This is the sage's vow, and for each of them it is slightly different. Riju and Tulin go with a traditional handshake, while Yonobo offers a fist bump. Minoru takes Link's hand formally. For each of them, it is a symbol of pledging their vow to Link in the fight that is to come. Sidon's vow, on the other hand, is a tad bit different. Instead of a handshake, he grips Link's hand with both of his own, falls to a knee, and only then gives his vow. Yes, this is the common proposal position we see when a man confesses their love and asks for another's hand in marriage. Is there anything more symbolic than this out of all the things I've brought up, to show that Sidon is in love with Link? Furthermore, this is on the eve to his marriage with Yona, and so you can see how he made sure to give his vow to Link before her. Perhaps an argument could be made that Sidon is so large, he is merely falling to Link's level, or that bending the knee is a common gesture showing fealty. I suppose if people want to be stubborn in ignoring the obvious signs of Sidon's desires for Link, they can hide behind that. I have no intentions of having a fight in the comments about it. It really is too bad that Sidon's power doesn't light up the ring finger, now isn't it? With all that I've outlined here, I feel confident in presenting the view that Sidon is not only in love with Link, but really only has eyes for him. I believe that Yona was an arranged marriage either due to the king realizing that Link would never reciprocate Sidon's love, or perhaps that the king simply didn't approve of the choice. The tragedy of the matter, and I think Sidon realizes this, is that Link simply isn't interested in him that way. Now, Nintendo likes to sidestep this situation by saying, it's up to the player's interpretation. As much as I would like to see a true gay relationship in a Nintendo game, I don't see it happening. Honestly, I'm a bit surprised it's so overt in Tears of the Kingdom. It's honestly hard not to view Sidon's feelings in this way. I also genuinely hate how the community plays it for laughs, because I for one think that representation matters. Part of me wishes that Nintendo had the courage to go through with something like this, that they would be more overt with this type of thing, perhaps going as far as to make Yona a prince from another domain. Sadly, I know that would never happen. Coming back around to Sidon and Link, as much as I would have loved for this to be the case, there is an underlying issue that Link doesn't reciprocate at all to what Sidon is doing. As such, when it comes to this ship, I'm afraid all I see is one-sided love from Sidon to Link, and sadly, I don't see Nintendo ever going beyond what is given. Thanks for watching the video. What are your thoughts on Sidon and Link? I'm genuinely curious as to people's thoughts on the matter. Leave a comment and I will respond. I'm also curious if you are aware of any other overt gay relationships in Nintendo games. I'm not very familiar with Fire Emblem, for example, so maybe there is something there I simply don't know about. If you haven't done so already, a like and subscribe really helps the channel out. I need more support to keep things going, so if you are in a position to help out, consider supporting me directly on Patreon or becoming a channel member, especially if you want me to be able to do more content like this. I need that type of support as the YouTube algorithm will likely punish this video. Anyhow, if you join up, you will gain access to my growing Discord where we can talk more directly about upcoming topics. In addition to that, we can talk about plenty of other things, from general Zelda chatter to other games or even beyond the scope of gaming. For the people who are already supporting me, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I truly could not continue this without your support. That's all I have for you today, guys. Be safe and may the way of the hero lead to the Triforce.